Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, episode 177 million. 177 million thousand. It's a podcast where we sit and talk to each other and figure out what we think about everything. And that's what we're doing this week. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Magic.
And this week we're going to talk about doing what you love.
Doing what you love.
Should you or shouldn't you? And how can you? And how do you get to? And in terms of work, in terms of creativity, in terms of playtime, leisure time, and also like you related it to trauma, according to some. So like people doing things that they love tend to be successful in their businesses, but often that's born out of some sort of trauma.
Well, I think a lot of people have ideas that they can really invest all of themselves into, born out of some sort of traumatic event or some need to fix something or change something or make it better for somebody else or whatever that might be. I also think there's this just doing what you love is always discussed in the context of having to make money out of it or having to make a living out of it. But maybe you can have a job that then helps fund you doing what you want to do. I don't know, like why do they have to be related?
Why do they have to be money?
Well, especially when Bezos could just give us all pocket money and we'd all be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the episode. Let's play the title music and any second get into it.
Nice.
How's it going, Ivanka Magic? How was your week?
I've had a lovely week, in fact, despite the fact that my mother went home on Tuesday, which was a bit...
How long was she with you in the end?
2 months.
2 months.
2 months.
Croatia.
And people especially to Nick, go, oh, you're glad she's gone, aren't you? Go on.
Sounds like you've got the real sort of like mother-in-law humour.
Yeah, and Nick's like
Englishman, Irishman, Scotsman jokes.
Take my mother-in-law. Go on, take her. No, she's we're quite a harmonious household when she's here. She's we're all grown up, so we can all go, not now, mother. Let's not talk about. Or she can go, can everyone leave me alone for a bit? I'm just going out on my own. So yeah, we're all happily rub along together. In fact, she spends most of the time bickering with my daughter. But yes,
about
that
what
was
sort of thing.
Anything. You can't tell me what to do, Granny. You're not my mummy. Mummy's in charge, not you. Oh, Granny, don't you know what my daughter is so... But that's what they sort of have this bickery relationship, I think. But then they go off and do naughty things together, like go to a cafe and have fizzy mineral water or whatever.
Fizzy mineral water.
Well, my daughter managed to persuade her to buy a fizzy orange juice and then realised that she doesn't really like it because she hasn't had that much of it and it made her feel a bit sick. So, but my mum will buy her stuff that I won't. Obviously, that's part of your job as a grandparent, I think, to be bad.
As an aside, a Brexit result is that there's no... Because we buy bottles of fizzy water because it's nice to have water down your juice. But there's just none in the supermarkets anymore. Like, there's a huge shortage of, like, bottled water of all sorts, but there's no sparkling water. I thought it came from the Highlands and the springs of Buxton. But apparently, all the trucks... There's just the Brexit problem.
Really?
It's just meant there's it's not toilet paper this year. It's freaking bottled water. It's just nowhere.
Sparkling water.
Yeah.
Well,
so we can't have
we have plenty.
And we bought one that was the more expensive, like the one that was in the glass bottles. And then we saw there was a product recall for that bottle, and that's the bottle I've been using for my bedside water. Who knows what shards of lead poisoning I'm getting from it?
Oh my goodness! No, we have we can have sparkling mineral water at home because that's one thing that they have got right here is this whole, or they never eliminated, I suppose, is you can go and get a crate of glass bottles of mineral water and then swap your bottles, take them back. Not that we do that often. We just stick to tap water. It's perfectly drinkable. So we had that, and then we went off on a little wild camp. Because we'd actually bothered to leave the island and get the car out and stuff. We thought we should go somewhere. So we went to quite a closed national park. Didn't go into the national park and do the tourist journey because we looked at all the boats and it just looked full of people. And we've got 2 dogs, and I think it would just be really stressy. So we found a little spot by a lake and camped for a couple of days, and some friends joined us who have a sailing boat. And the child was allowed to drive the sailing boat. We went for a little sail.
You said yacht when you were describing.
Well, it is a yacht.
Earlier, but I
it is a yacht,
being
but then
coy about it.
I am
being
coy. I'm being sort of embarrassed. No, it does sound fancy, doesn't it?
It's a sailing house yacht.
They live on a yacht.
So,
they live on a yacht, so it's I don't know how long it is. It's got 2 bedrooms in it, and a kitchen, sitting room. So it's like I suppose it's like a static caravan.
Static caravan on the water
that lives in the water and goes places. But it was cool, and it did make Nick and I both we've moved to this island but we're not boat people. Don't know anything about boats. Never sailed, nothing. And we, having spent the day on it and looked a bit, obviously it's very controlled environment, but it suddenly felt like something maybe we could learn how to do enough to just bimble around in the summer. So we'll see. But I think, and it was nice to show your child to, when you have, my small child, I like to let her try things, as many things as possible, and sort of so she can expose her to lots of variety. Yeah, exactly. I don't know what she's going to like or want to do. So that was quite nice. So it was very nice and relaxing. We've got home, and then we have visitors in the form of my cousin's daughter. My cousin who died, his daughter's here. And we haven't seen her for ages, so we're all very excited. She's here with a boyfriend who we'd not met before, and we're trying not to be like the embarrassing parent types, but I feel like I have a duty to be slightly. So what do you do? I'm practicing for when my child's in her 20s and starts bringing boyfriends home, and I'm like, when she's 35 and I let her
right you let her go out to the pub.
Yes. So how was your week?
How's my week? We went up to Liverpool on the weekend, which was a short and it was the most rain that we could have possibly had, but in London as well, like at Euston Station, it was absolutely pissing it down. And then we got up to Liverpool, but actually it wasn't nearly as much rain as we thought it was going to be. And we stayed in the Titanic Hotel, which was nice. But it was a bit of a walk from town, so I had a bit of buyer's remorse about it all. But it was nice. It was nice, and we just loaded up on snacks and ate snacks in the hotel room and did all that kind of thing. That was fun. Watched the Olympics, and then this week, I just feel like I feel like I'm running like hot at the moment. I'm really enjoying. I'm getting loads done, and I'm running 100% all day. And I'm just I sort of like this, but I'll get to the end of the day and I'll be like, I'll be sort of in this slightly sort of kind of wired, kind of looking around kind of state of mind. But I'm like this. I've got to be careful, because if I run this hot for this long, then I'm going to lose a month if I'm not careful. I did take last August off, didn't I? But I haven't.
Yeah, you did.
So I guess I'm doing better this year. But I've just got to watch that. But I just feel like I've got this pile of things in front of me that I'm trying to do, and I've done. I released that one thing last week, and I did another bit of content this week where I went through how we record this podcast, and sort of I did a video about it step by step, just to show all the ins and outs of doing what we're doing in this very moment, and that's all up on squares.tv. And I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm talking to people, and I've been sort of reworking my Shoot app and making that work a bit better and blah blah blah. And then yesterday I went to a talk about. I went out for the first time to a kind of super spreader event, of a small super spreader event, let's call it. I mean, it was this thing for this app called Endless with 3 S's, where it's it's for playing music with other people, sort of like you record a loop, they record a loop over the top of it, and it's got some little buttons you can press to make nice sounds in it. And the guy there, Tim Shaw, his name is, but his stage name is Tim Exile. But I sort of went there to see that, and I thought, like, so there was a bit of a I don't know how much to talk about it, but it was interesting going out to East London and seeing this like Containerville, it's called. So it's all these containers with like offices in them, all sort of stacked on top of each other, and all these things. And it feels like an attempt to address some of the stuff that I'm always complaining about. That it seems like there are other people worrying about like the co-location and the living and working separately, and they've got people living and they've got people working in this sort of network of containers. Right. There are people like. It's good to know that like I am a bit siloed out here, like in Queen's Park in West London, like, and seeing that there is stuff, there are other people worrying about the same things that I'm worried about, even if they're, you know, there's always a sort of air of over-designed, pokerly small pretentiousness, overpricedness to those things, but at least they're like trying. But I had to listen to all this like business talk of what did he call it? Oh, the metaverse. It's like an online digital space where people create inside it, and whatever different kinds of NFTs people are doing, and like here is, I think this market is going to run to trillions. It's like, it's not going to run to trillions. It's a music app. Calm down. Sorry.
What's an NFT?
What's an NFT? They literally started saying, well, everyone knows what an NFT is at this point. Do you not know what a non-fungible token? It's that. Did you not hear about the guy that sold like £1 million NFT of just his art? What's his name? I really should know it off the top of my head. It's basically you like a blockchain thing where you create a token which you can sort of represents something that only one person can then own, and then you have a bidding war on that thing. So you can sell the ownership of some object or piece of art, digital or real, and then it just allows you to sell the ownership of the original to one person. And they're going for like, there was a whole hype about it earlier this year where one sold for like $1 million, or I think it was even more than that. I'm trying to remember. NFT sale big.
Can you eat it?
Beeple is the guy, and he sold one for like $69 million. That was it.
Oh,
like nice it was just like a grid of all of his artwork kind of thing. But it's like, it's just this concept of ownership and collectors and that kind of thing on the blockchain. But yeah, there was, and this guy was talking about this blockchain because, you know, I mentioned our chain being proof of stake. When we did our blockchain episode, it seems like the one that's taking off is this other one called something else, Tezos, which is another proof of stake that I don't know. It sounds like an interesting blockchain to keep an eye on. But where this musician was saying he's sort of probably he's been sort of NFTing a load of stuff, and it's been sort of making more money than you could on Spotify, kind of thing. So yeah. Anyway, it was interesting. It was nice to sort of like connect with that world again. Although also sort of annoying to. I probably shouldn't say too much because this is a public thing. But sometimes I think people are asking a question to sort of try and ask a clever question than more to try and find out an answer from someone. So you get this kind of like word soup coming out of people that just, it doesn't really feel like communication.
You talk about audience comments?
Yeah, and then
but that's always the case. It doesn't matter what the subject area. It's like more of a comment than a question, but here's something I want to say. It's like,
here's the thing I know.
Yeah, here's the thing I know and I want to say.
Or like just a very tenuous connection of something they want to the thing the speaker is talking about. Yeah. It's like then the speaker has to like tie themselves in knots to try and say, oh yeah, maybe in the future. Oh, but the product manager's over there going crazy, worrying about, well, where's this on the roadmap? I'm like, just everybody, just calm down and just be people with each other and just talk. It will be fine. So that was that. I did one of those. Nice. Let me play the break and let's get into the topic. that was just played a little video of the Celebrity Silhouette, a big sort of cruise ship that was moored in Liverpool that Sharon's now following on the cruise. She was going, why would anyone take a cruise from Southampton to Liverpool? But it was nice.
I think it's a valid question.
Yeah. Well, she was looking at like the penthouse suites and stuff, and it's like, ooh, that's nice. But then the cheapest ones are like they've got no windows and they're on the inside. But we walked past and some people waved at us from it, and we waved back, and it was like, oh, that's nice. But yeah, we know. Also thinking about what you think about these cruise ships is they're not great, are they?
No, they're like they've no reason to be.
No reason to be. Anyway.
No.
Doing what you love. Are you doing what you love?
I don't know.
What do you love doing?
I don't know. And that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of the episode.
No.
We couldn't figure it out.
We don't know. I wasn't thinking about it that.
Sorry. I always
I
spring a question on you.
Yeah, I maybe don't know what I love doing. I can get very. I do love what I don't know. What do you love doing? Making music, making apps.
But here's
Leave me alone.
My relationship with things that I love doing.
Stop talking to me.
Is one of like rejection and like unrequited love. You know, it's like I love the idea of like it's like I've always had this as I've got older. It's like I've had this feeling that I love music, but music doesn't love me back. Like, and it's. But yeah, like I, if I'm gonna have a good moment, it's gonna be in that sort of fit of creative like flow that is that I've become scared of, but like also that it's sort of unparalleled, really, like as a feeling, and I do love to do it. Once I can get into it, and sometimes, and it's just but it always feels like it's not enough to love something. You've also got to prove that you're good at it and make money from it, or it doesn't count. Or it's a hobby, or like if you don't want it to be a hobby, then it's sort of offensive if someone says it's your hobby, and like it's weird. But like I love getting something to work. I love like being able to. I love feeling clever, I think.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I love feeling clever. I think that's a. You see, I mean, I like doing lots of things. That's I think partly my problem, like, because so if we take these examples of people that love what they do, I love what I look after stray animals and I love it, and I found a way to make it my work, or I mean, I don't know that I have a thing that I love to do, but rather a skill that helps something happen, and then it's finding things that I want to apply those skills to. Do you know,
I think when I think about jobs, like we have this romantic idea of love, that it's this lightning bolt from Cupid that's gonna, like, we see love at first sight or whatever. Like there's the romantic idea of like love that is this magical thing that but I think probably most of the time people that talk about that are more talking about that sort of like infatuation kind of phase that's quite kind of drug fueled inside your own brain, like it's giving you all these things, here is a potential mate, and then people get divorced once that kind of like dies down. But there's the other kind of love which grows, and you can, if that comes from less of a sort of a hyperactive place, and comes from more of a, okay, this person cares about me and I care about them, and we're starting to have these experiences together, and it's growing and we're building this love. And there's so when it comes to a job, it's like it's like if I don't necessarily know what I would love to do in advance, I can certainly to do a job I have to learn to love some aspect of it. I have to kind of like, and we can learn to love things as long as they're not too kind of toxic or like abusive. But even in the case of abusive and toxic things, we can still love them, or the people or jobs. But I think for me it's like I can't really work hard on something that there isn't some sort of idea of I love some aspect of it. But sometimes I'll, just to be pragmatic, I can like learn to love some making learning how to get deeper into Flash development without using the IDE. That was an obscure example. Well,
I think, but I think that's the I think there's a slight difference of so I love, really what I love is I love learning, and I love people. Doing things with people. I like collaborate. I like doing things together with somebody or some other people. I'm not really I don't think I get as much. So it's that sort of the doing things, the learning. That's when I feel like I've done. And of course, you know, I like finishing my day and coming downstairs and how was your day? Oh, I was clever today. Did clever things today. You know, and it's nice to recognise that and have those moments. But I don't think I'd get that sense if I hadn't learned something or realised something or discovered something or communicated something, whatever. I think where we can get confused is when something's a challenge. And a challenge is not the same as a learning, like sort of, for example, like if you're in a sales job or something, which I've never been in, but you get given targets and you're and you get some satisfaction from that for sure. Like I've met my targets and I've got my bonus and it's kind of like, but I think that's more of the sort of you could fall into the abusive relationship side of things.
Well, there's a dopamine loop as well. It's like, if I kind of work hard, I go through the pain, and then I get a little rush at the end. I get a little trophy. I get a little kind of sales bonus.
But then if you're doing something like, you know, I don't know, building a school for orphan children, and you've got to go to 1 million meetings and get people to give you the money, and you're like really having to sell, you know, that's the same sort of challenge, but you're probably equal in terms of potential for burnout, in terms of hours, in terms of work, in terms of probably even more. Well, but at the end of it, you've got something more than just a bonus to show for it. Yeah,
if you're really invested in the outcome, then you're probably more willing to do stuff that you don't love doing day to day in order to achieve that outcome, which is your sort of purpose. So that's so maybe some of us would rather kind of stick on this like dopamine cycle and just kind of like feel comfortable and feel a bit more safe and not have to do the really hardcore stuff that we really hate doing, which I'm just describing my life. I'm like, I just wish I could I'm trying to like address the things that I hate doing, because if I don't do the aspects that I hate, I'm not going to be able to keep doing the thing that I want to do that is the thing I love, that I am interested in. But it's weird because circumstances are so much part of this. Like you kind of like have a limited menu of opportunities in your life. These works outside my window are very obnoxious, by the way, if anyone can hear that.
I know, I bet I can just about hear it. But I think there's this the act doing. So I've just drawn 3 axes. Okay. So I was thinking about what, as you were talking, I was thinking about what three axes. There's a kind of like activities you love, things you like doing, learning, working with people. Yeah. You know, like you can't just do. You could, and then there's like outcome or purpose. So if you're doing the things you love to get something that you think is worth doing, but then there's always going to be this element of things that you said, activities you hate, the things you hate doing. But do you hate them as much? You know, can you reframe some of those things in your head, so it's not like, right, I've got to go and have a sales meeting, which I do hate. I really do. I'm not very good. I'm like, well, you know, if you don't want it, don't buy it. It's not.
Find a way to sprinkle in some of what you love into the thing to make yourself do it. Like,
or you've got to combine forces with somebody that loves doing the things that you don't love doing. Like, you know, Nick likes sales. He gets real satisfaction from business development type things. Business development, and I'm like,
I wish I could find a person, but it's tough.
But I think for me, I think that sort of doing the ultimate aim is to sort of be able to do the things that you love, like do the activities that you love, the learning, the making, whatever it might be, for something you love. Right. And the way you can get manipulated is when people trick you into thinking that the thing you're doing it for is something you love, but it's actually not. They've missold it to you, or you haven't realised. So you know, canonical being an example of that kind of like manipulation. But equally, like, well, I mean, my frame of reference just keeps staying in that sort of like what I do for a living, sit in front of a computer, getting money out of a computer, as my child describes it. Mummy gets money out of the computer, and Daddy does all the cooking. But there's that kind, and then there's stuff like, I was thinking on this sailing, I was telling you before the podcast, like people who spend their summers teaching other people how to sail. Is that doing something that you love, or is that having to put up with other people so that you can do something you love? Like, wouldn't you rather, would it be just as nice to, I don't know, earn some money in the winter so that you can spend the summer sailing and not have to teach anybody else? I don't know. Like,
I just had an idea for
what's it mean?
I just had
doing
an idea.
Something you love.
Let's after the break find out the role of other people in doing what you love. That track takes too long to get going. We were talking about like the role of other people in the doing things we love, and in terms of your like having clients, or if you love sailing or surfing or making music, like there's this way in which it can. Like the first time I ever tried to make music for money. And it was this ad client, and they wanted like 3 bits of music for some reel or something they did, and I had to apply the thing that I loved doing, that was a very personal, creative, artistic process, to this sort of client work, and it had to be such a different thing that it was unrecognizable to me as the thing that I love anymore, because it was through this lens of, can you make it a bit more street? I'm like, what are you saying? Like, someone who is paying you thinks a lot of themselves, has no musical language, and I literally just said, I can't do this. Like, this is not this. And then I think about like the graphic designers and the people that have these creative skills that are then sort of selling those skills into this world that like treats it so far from the artistic thing that they probably love about it. That I was sort of glad that I didn't have to do that, but I still get to be creative as a programmer, but no one else can understand the creativity. The client can't go, try this, because it's this kind of sealed off mysterious world to them where I can be creative in and sort of enjoy myself without fear of interruption. But when it comes to stuff that people feel like they can comment on, that's like I could never quite bring myself to attempt that sort of thing. But music is a very specific and personal thing, whereas like user research you can't do without, talking to people and having some people involved, or
having a reason.
Yeah, or teaching as well. Like it is. I feel like it's orthogonal to the skiing or whatever it is. Yeah. But you probably, if you can find a way to like get something out of the teaching that's going to help you in the stuff when you're doing it for fun. You weren't saying skiing. I'm just in a skiing.
Sailing. Skiing's fine. It's just as good an example. Yeah. I mean, I've got this. I've got this post. I was just looking at. I've got this print on my wall, and it's like it says "Do it with love," and it's like, what's the difference between doing something you love and just doing something with some love and respect for what you're doing? I don't know where that comes, and then from that, can you be? Because I think anyone who's trying to do something that they love, they're just trying to enjoy their life, aren't they? It's like,
I just think the reason that you have to get something out of it in terms of love is that like you've only got so much time on this planet, and if 40 hours of your week is doing something you hate for something you hate just because you need money, like you don't get that time back. No. Like there's no nobility in wasting your existence on like it's but then as you sort of implied, like does it let you get to do things outside of work that you love? So you put up with the pain to get the stuff outside, and I know people that live like that, and I think they prefer it to the sort of riskier trying to turn the thing that you do love into some sort of income.
Money making, income. It's the we're going back to universal basic income. It's like, but for example, I really love. I think of all the things that I do in my time outside of getting money out of the computer. I like to cook. I like to do it, but I love to garden. I find it very satisfying, and not in a kind of. My garden, if you looked at my garden, I don't know if you'd think that I love gardening because it's not like carefully groomed, but that's my whole philosophy. But I could spend time in
How
nature.
Convenient.
That's what I think. Oh no, it's intentionally like that. But I don't know that. But it's backbreaking work to make a living out of it. It's hard. It's hard. It can be hard work and annoying just making enough, growing your vegetables in your back garden. If you're not creating the time to do it. And I find, but this, even that idea of finding the thing that you love to do, puts pressure. It's like a ambition, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it makes it like this thing that now, like, it's not enough to just love it. You've got to show that you're making money out of it, and that makes it such a different thing. And like, no one's happy to just go, oh no, he's doing what he loves. Bit of a loser though. That's kind of like, if you're not also,
it's such a luxury though to enjoy, to find something to do that you really love. It is lucky, and it there's so many little bits that come the fact that you and I even have the time to set aside on a Friday to have a conversation about what it is to do, it's like that's already an implied level of luxury, I think.
It is.
But I also think that I'm struggling to doing this thought exercise, because I keep translating everything back into job and work and days of the week and weekends, and it's like fitting things in. And actually, maybe that's not the like. Maybe it's about finding balance. Maybe it's about not giving yourself, driving yourself to burnout in order to fund a winter of skiing, but rather, finding some sort of balance in life where you get to do some of the stuff you really love doing and not too much of the stuff that you really hate doing, and you don't have to do so. You know what I mean? It's
if you think of it in terms of relationships, it's like, if you can love someone, but if you put all of your happiness on that other person, like if you're kind of like, no, you have to be the source of my happiness, and I'm not interested in anything else. Like, that's toxic. That's not a good way to keep that. You have to have like a balance, I think, as you say, like and I heard this guy, I wish I could find the quote, but just I saw this one talk. It was probably a TikTok, so it's impossible to ever find again, but just this guy going like, people say you should do what you love. That's rubbish. Like, you should do what you can get paid for. You can do what has value to others. You can and it's like, okay, I guess I don't know. I think you have to find, there has to be something in it. Like, otherwise, how do you pick anything?
You got. I think as well, this kind of idea that, going back to your analogy, I don't know about people like this, like assuming that money is the be all and end all. I mean, my father's very much like, I was like, I want to study maths. No, you don't want to study maths. You want to do something practical, like engineering, where you can make a living. No, like that was his philosophy. That was pretty old school, I think. It's like my sister, my daughter yesterday said we were having a FaceTime with my sister, and she said, "Oh, I want to be a clown," and my sister goes, "There's not much money in that," and she's like, "Well, I don't want to make money. I want to have fun." It's like 56. It's like
isn't that the crux of this entire conversation?
It's like but she doesn't want to be one of those clowns with the red nose. She wants to be a stylish clown,
like a proper Cirque du Soleil, or one of those sad
that would
clowns.
Blow her mind if I took her to Cirque du Soleil. Anyway, that's a good idea.
After the next break, shall we talk about this trauma thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. some train footage down from Liverpool. I was quite into it. It's like a sparsely sort of Kraftwerk non-produced track, but I was quite enjoying it then. And this
The trauma thing.
Synchro Moose has said a couple of things. My friend went to Australia to teach sailing, and that was like an adventure, and he struggles to do. I'm assuming he or she. Sorry, I've just assumed. They say I struggle to do commissions for music. It's not really art at that point. So I think just kind of like what we were saying. But this trauma thing. What do you? So you think like? So I can certainly tie that into 2 years ago I sort of focused in on my mood tracking app, and that's obviously like pretty closely related to a lot of my traumas. And I suppose the music thing is like it's something I found in the midst of some dark time. Actually, like, do you know last week we said we were trying to think about how to celebrate the what is it, the glory, like it was the hope, grit, glory, fear thing, the glory thing. And it was like, okay, I said I want to think about like what I'm going to do as a trophy, and I decided, right, I'm going to let myself start having a little bit of a Transformers toy collection.
Is that what you decided?
So I do have this Soundwave that I bought. Ooh, look at this guy. But that was just like, I just want a kind of cool music style thing. But I'm like, no, whenever I achieve a little thing, I'm going to just get myself a Transformer that is commensurate or has the personality that sort of fits with. And I was scrolling. I have never had this experience. And Sharon's all the time like scrolling through. I was scrolling through the Transformers on eBay, and I was just like, no. Ooh, a Starscream. Ooh, that's oh god, these Michael Bay ones. Oh, and like it's such, and I was like feeling so much excitement and love for this thing, and I would never let myself do it because it feels like such a regressive, childish. I don't want to be a man-child with like a toy collection, but I do. That's one of the reasons the shelf is behind me now, so that I can start to like build
celebrate
it up.
yours.
Yeah, I was just also, I think it's a more relatable thing as well. Like lots of people like Transformers, don't they? So if I just say I like Transformers, because I really do love that, like the G1. But like but then as you say, the trauma thing, and not to like kind of like, but we are talking about trauma in this context. But literally, like my mum died when I was 6, and my aunt came over, her sister, and I remember being in Folkestone at my granddad's house, and my aunt gave me my first Transformers comic. And I was like, ooh. And I was absolutely like captivated by it. And then it was like all my pocket, I got like 32p pocket money a week, and that all went, well, 30p, and it had to go up to 32p because the comic went up to 32p. But all of my pocket money just went on this and every Saturday morning I like wake up at like 4:30 a.m. or whatever, I'm waiting for the thing to come on the mat. Every school holidays I'm like waiting for this thing to like come on the is Wackaday going to have Transformers this half term? Like it was so just like hoping for a glimpse of those Transformers cartoons, and like wanting the different toys, and seeing my friend collecting the little stickers. And my friend would have like, you'd have a friend that had all of them, and you'd have like I'd have like a handful of like not very good ones. But Timmy Mallet, exactly. I sat through a lot of goddamn Timmy Mallet in the hope of seeing a Transformers cartoon that I didn't want to sit through. But I had such love for it, but I think that probably wouldn't have been quite as intense, and it probably wouldn't be so enduring as it still seems to be. I still look at those little G1, like, G1 Optimus Prime, and like, and some of these are like 400 quid now, like some of these toys. Right. And it's like, so if I do have a big win, I can treat myself to a proper collector's item Transformer. But there's the ones I know, and I know all the stories. It was a Marvel comic, and it was great. Like it had such like, because there was a UK version. I'm sorry, I'm really like rambling on about Transformers. But it's a thing that I love.
See you so happy.
It's a thing that I love, and I don't care. I'm just going to say, I just love this world, the universe they created, where people, like the Transformers the movie, like the main guy died. Like Optimus Prime died, and it was terrible, and it was driven by this market force of Hasbro wanting to like release a new line of Transformers, but they made this really like enduring film because they just killed everyone. It's like, and I'm like, because I'm coming from a place of trauma and where people die, and it's like, yeah, it connected with me in a way that like nothing else did. And so I think definitely that it must be like it was that ray of hope, that ray of joy, sort of in like just a very dark childhood that I think definitely has driven it keeps it alive in a way. And then
I think that's brilliant. I'm glad you found someone. I'm glad that you've identified a way to celebrate.
Yeah.
And I've always known that you love Transformers, but I've never quite realised how much I love Transformers until this moment. But I do associate.
Too cool to love toys, Ivanka. I'm too cool for
you're
that.
filed in my head. Whenever I see something Transformer related, it does make me think of you. So I know it enough to know that they're your thing. But
maybe I got drunk once and rambled on about it.
But no, so I think you ranted about one of the Transformers films.
Oh yeah, I did that thing, didn't I? Anyway, go on.
Anyway, so I think one thing we haven't said on the podcast is, because you're talking about the trauma thing, but we haven't said it, which is that I met this guy this week who has helped 100 startups get off the ground. And he said, but he wanted to only identify startups with purpose. So he had conversations with them, he helped them, and he said, like, of the 100, only one failed. And he's like, this is an amazing statistic, really. And he aligns the fact that purpose comes from trauma, and trauma is the connecting factor in all these people, in all these things. It sort of gives people a different drive. I didn't dig into it very deeply, but I will be seeing him again, so I'll have another conversation with him about it. But it's like this idea that if you're doing something that either helps you heal or to help you help other people not experience the same trauma, and one of the reasons that he's very positive about the world at the moment, and this was I think he was like, we have collectively as a planet this year, we have all experienced trauma. We've all experienced a traumatic event, and he is hugely optimistic that change will come from it.
Purpose will come out of that.
Purposeful change will come from trauma, because trauma just, I think, that it is one thing that you and I share beyond a doubt as two people. One of the things that I think helps us connect is that we've both experienced traumatic events that are many people are traumatized by different things, but we've both had trauma, and I think it does something. It helps. It is helpful in a weird way. It is helpful. It helps you give you perspective. It helps give context. And so, when I listen to people going, well, sod finding what you love, find something that makes money. It's like, you're gonna what?
Then what?
What are you gonna do with that? What?
And spend the money trying to feel happy somehow.
Yeah,
possessions,
on sort of like most people, if you're driven. So yeah, I think that's a.
It's a sad situation, isn't it? And it sort of ties back into that disaster capitalism conversation which we had 27 years ago on the podcast. It's like purpose coming from, or opportunities and purpose coming from bad things. Yeah. It's a shame that that's how it's got to be, but I guess there's just a lot more bad things than there are. It's hard to define the good things, but the bad things are very easy to. I don't know.
And I don't know if that's like. It's just making it's like it's not a. But I don't think one should ever seek out trauma.
No,
it's not. That's not the idea. I don't wish it upon anybody.
Yeah,
but
well,
there's
the reason
a
you haven't got a
chance.
good business is you've had too nice a life. You need to go.
Go and do something bad. No, that is
why
not
they have to
the.
pay dominatrices to stand on their necks to try and get some sort of pain to fuel them.
I was aligning it with the adrenaline sports. I was thinking the people that like those kind of massive thrill seekers are just looking for something that I'm not that interested. So I don't. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you can't say that only. Then these are not. Sorry, I'm getting all that sort of like on the subject of apologetic about not saying my friends on a yacht.
Yeah,
It's like, not all traumas are equal, and just because you're successful doesn't mean you've had to have a trauma.
Yeah. It's weird because,
this
like,
is
how
our
do you
thing.
really how do you really take action on the trauma having to be something? It's like it's tricky because, like, it's not really. But maybe it's just like we've all got something probably, and it's all sort of like relative to your experience. So your trauma could seem smaller, but if it's like we have a trauma on a sort of similar scale, I guess, and then other, you might have one on a smaller scale, but you can lean into that, and if that drives you, if that gives you purpose, then that's cool. Like, you don't have to go, try and, get paralyzed or something. It's just
No,
it's not a thing.
do I need to go and kill somebody? No, my though I've just realised that I haven't told you the very best positive news that's happened this week.
Yeah.
My sister's foster son, I don't know, my foster nephew, got into university.
Hey, foster care to university.
Foster care to university.
Good stuff.
So, and he got on the thing he wanted, where he wanted. So
Brilliant.
I was like, yes.
Good work, foster nephew. What
Yes.
should we do our fourth segment on? Just should you doing what you love, what it feels like. I'm just going to play the last clip. That is what is going on outside my window. Lots of work, lots of JCBs, lots of hammering, lots of... God. Don't try and record a podcast. Don't try and record anything, really. I'm just kind of like, whatever. I think if there's anything this year, it's been like... I've had this period of, like, essentially... kind of passive income. I've been trying to build the next thing, or I was trying to, like, work on the thing to try and, like, push it up once it dwindles, once the stuff that I don't know how it happened dwindles. But I was like, Michael, you've got this time, you need to make, like, just put aside 2 hours, 4 hours just to do something for fun that you love doing, and do it on stream or whatever, play some music, learn how to... You do your weird graphics things and just do it on stream, and then it'll feel like it's, marketing or something. But just do it, and make the time to do it, because you've got the luxury of being able to do that. So do it, Michael. Do it. And it's fun, but there's definitely, I've always had a lot of guilt around doing those sorts of things that seem like unproductive types of feeling things that I love, or it's weird, but I don't want that to turn into a sort of negative point, but sorry, that's the podcast. That's me. That's my personality. I'm sorry.
You can't help it. We're
I
getting
can't
back on
help
Transformers in a minute.
Get me back on Transformers. Shit.
But I think so. Part of a bit of the conversation we were having this week as well was like, because this guy that we met also happens to support 2 or 3 different businesses. He's also a freelancer that all somehow have a climate connection to them, and so we were talking about, I was like, was that an active choice, or is it? And he's like, that's where we talked about purpose, because it just happens that the purposeful businesses that he's picked up on happen to be connected to climate change, rather than him actively seeking out climate change as being a theme. And he was just talking about one of the young women from one of his organisations doing some fundraising things, riding a horse from Land's End to John O'Groats or something. Obviously it's taking ages. And one of the things she's talking about is like the need to slow down. And like if you slow down and sort of limit, or like we've spoken about repeatedly, is thinking about how much you really need to earn, or how much stuff you really need in your life, or how big your house really needs to be, or how luxurious your, whatever it is. Like if you can kind of cut your coat to fit your cloth a bit, or decide how big your cloth is, and then then there is more space for freedom to then waste time, or like these people, they're the ones living on the yacht, and they were like, one of the things about living like this is that simple tasks can take much longer than they would in a house, like doing the washing take flipping ages.
I remember when Otto first got his boat, and he was like talking about how he's going to do his Wi-Fi this and all this kind of like tech, because he's like in that kind of designer, all that kind of world, and then like 6 months in, it's like I can't. I just want to have a shower, and like it's just, his expectations have been so shrunk from this kind of like. It was like I think he sort of realised, right, yes, the romance of it perhaps didn't come out.
And that, I think there's definitely a lot of that. Like, what's your level of acceptance of how much discomfort are you willing to tolerate, or how much luxury do you need? Where's your line?
Yeah.
And I think, like that motorcycle trip was an opportunity for me and Nick to work out a lot about where our line was or what we wanted to do. But again, that's like massively and Nick was brought up the example. He was like, yeah, but hang on a minute, like we all need to slow down. But what about the people earning minimum wage or less than minimum wage? You haven't can't slow down. There is no space for play. There is no time. And it's like, again, I think in order for us all to slow down, the answer still is get the lowest. We've got to lift the bottom line higher.
Yeah.
So more of us can be content, and I think contentment is an underrated word.
Is it even content, or is it not crushed under the cold, unfeeling foot of capitalism? It's like, is it? You don't have to be content. You just have to not be so overpowered by capital that is owned by other people that you can't even breathe, which is the experience of most people, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is.
And that's why we need universal basic income, baby. So that just raise up the base level. In terms of, I'm gonna just. I don't know, this is going to be boring to everyone. I'm going to say, I think
I'll be the judge of that.
I think you can definitely find a way to make something you don't want to do. What I've got at the moment is I'm splitting my time between working on my app and working on my Squares TV website, and I've literally got in the Squares because I was getting all anxious about it, but I've just put just have fun with it. Squares TV, you're working on this, just have fun with it. So it means when I had the idea this week, right, I'm gonna all my 150 email addresses that have been submitted through the app, I'm gonna send each one of those people a video message introducing myself.
Wow.
And just going and having a look at what they've shared with me, and sort of trying to find out their real name from their email address, and just saying hi and just doing a personal email. And and on the one hand, that's let me sort of fuel my desire to it's a bit magical for people, I hope, if they ever click on the email, because it's got this is a personal video message. Really? I don't know if anyone's gonna. I haven't seen any evidence that anyone's clicked on it yet, but I've done 15 so far. But in order to be able to do that, I get to exercise my other superpower, which is creating. So I imported all of the email addresses from the other website, and I've made a little thing that pulls in how they answered my quiz, so I can see a little bit about them and I can see their links. And then yesterday, because usually I would have been just get on with it and record the video messages, but I was like, no, this is supposed to be fun, so I'm gonna have fun. I'm just gonna make my little system so that I can step through each person one at a time and get a little profile and see what emails I've sent before, and enter in their real name, and copy in an email that I've sent them off the system, and just sort of set the little thing, make sure the unsubscribe thing, make sure this button logs them in, and I do love doing that sort of thing. And it's all to this purpose of being able to then just kind of click next and record another video message, upload it, copy the link in, next, find out their name, do the thing, and just having this really streamlined flow so I can do 150 of them. But spending that little bit of time to kind of create because I just love building a thing that lets me do another thing and I think that's how you kind of create magic for people as well. And I just want people to be my favourite feeling is that how is this possible? I just love that, and that's what I want to give people. How is this possible? How do you do this? I just want people to be so oh, I don't understand, but I love it. That's just the feeling that I want to give people.
So, I like it. I just meant. Oh yeah, I was just thinking about the opposite of that. How could this happen? It's the. Why could this happen?
Why does this happen?
Why does this happen? Why are you all putting up with this? What is wrong with everybody? That's
the trauma part.
That is maybe. Oh, it's either the trauma part or the engineer part of the. Come on, people, we can do better than this.
Anyway, yes. Any thoughts to sign off on it? We're at 54 minutes, 41 seconds.
I think one of the other things, I have got some thoughts.
Yes.
It's not really a conclusion, but one of the things, again, this my new BFF source of information for the podcast. The other thing he talked about is this curriculum this woman's come up with, and the 3 principles of it: connecting with self, connecting with others, and connecting with nature. And I think that the connecting with self part of it, because it takes time and effort and energy to work out what you love. It's not that easy. It's really, I don't know why we're so, what is the matter with us? Why is it so hard for us to sort of accept and celebrate and enjoy what we love?
And also the thing of like, you have to nurture it, like sometimes to grow the love, and like you can be like, oh, that's nothing, and then if you dig in a bit, it's like, oh, I'm actually finding loads of stuff that's really fascinating, and now I'm starting to grow to love it. Like, I think that's and understanding yourself about why you love certain things, why you even why you hate certain things, why you think you hate certain things, why you love them, why you think you love them. It's like a bad job, like going back to that toxic relationship thing. Like, you could just really think that you get to be gaslighted by the organization you work for, manipulated into thinking that this is the bee's knees, and actually it's like, this is normal. No, it isn't. You're allowed to go home on time and see people and go out and eat proper food, and not live off toast or free food, pots of salad from M&S,
or whatever it might be. So I think that self connection with self helps massively. And I think connecting with others, being part of a community, being with people that help you learn and help you do the other things is just really cool and necessary.
And just once in a while, you've got to touch some grass.
Got to touch some grass, man.
On Twitch. Completed. Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com. There is a subscription, and there, if you see there's the video episodes, if you click on one of those, it'll take you to the Patreon where you can support us. But last week's I have put out as a public video the Fear, Hope, Grit and Glory, just if you want to see, because I talked about how I make them, and I wanted to put the latest one. So if you want to see a full video episode, you haven't seen one, just the Fear, Hope, Grit and Glory one, episode 176, you can have a look and you can see us. You can see what these little clips are. And you can join us live every Friday morning at sort of 10:30ish UK time on twitch.tv/Michael Forrester. Again, there's a follow button at the top of the website, grandpodcast.com. Where can people find you on the internet? Okay.
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter. That's it.
That's sure. Ivanka.blog. Coming back soon.
Coming back to life eventually one day.
And you can find me at come to squares.tv. That is where I am putting myself the most at the moment. And so that is if you are interested in video production, podcasting, live streaming stuff. Like I'm interviewing people, bringing together lots of stuff on that platform, and it's all really fueled by my Shoot Clean Camera Feed app, which you can get as well, which is just a little way of using your phone. Your good phone's a good webcam. I am not using it for this stream, and I should be, because this FaceTime camera looks like crap. So lovely. That's it. Hopefully, I've got to get ready on the buttons. We will see. Anything else we need to add?
No, I don't think so. That'll do us very nicely.
All right, perfect. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.